Kia ora, this is Arun Jacob, your friendly and frank licensed New Zealand immigration advisor as well as education advisor, coming live once again from beautiful Hamilton in New Zealand. Bit quieter, obviously. We are into our third week of lockdown here in New Zealand. And yeah, things are kind of getting into their own routine and normal as life tends to go on and as humanity adjusts to a new normal. But here we are, 3 weeks into the lockdown here in New Zealand, and things are pretty all right, to be honest. And I'm sitting here comfortably in my home in Hamilton, like every Monday, and coming live on Facebook, YouTube, and on Instagram. So, warm welcome to all the wonderful people who keep joining in on my live broadcasts and getting you the latest updates as always every Monday. Hey, look, that's my license, everybody. The license that allows me to sit here and provide information as a licensed immigration advisor and to be able to discuss things, information, and services that pertain to New Zealand education and migration for international clients. And so we at Team AJV Services, we cater to a very large number of people from different parts of the world. And I'm happy to be here back again this Monday and talk about the way things are here in New Zealand. Cool. Let's get on with a very, very quick update of what's happening in New Zealand. So, what's happening in New Zealand is that we have unfortunately reached 5 deaths in the COVID-19 pandemic. So our total number of people who have succumbed to this particular disease here in New Zealand is 5 at this stage. But the good news, of course, condolences to the family members of all these 5 people who have by and large been, elderly people. But the good news is that the number of new cases for us here in New Zealand is coming down. Also, so we have a total confirmed cases of 1,064 even as we speak today, and 546 people have recovered, and there have been 5 very unfortunate deaths here in New Zealand. This as compared to 1.85 million confirmed cases worldwide. 430,455 have recovered, and there have been just a little above 114,000 deaths globally. So when you look at the um, deaths we've had here in New Zealand, it is just 5 at this stage. Not that it is something to gloat about or talk about, but hey, look, there has to be a positive in every gloomy outlook. So thankfully for us, the government here has been doing a fantastic job of ensuring that this lockdown comes out with the sort of required outcome or the desired outcome, which is to stamp out this epidemic or pandemic completely here in New Zealand, and then kind of hopefully go back to some amount of normalcy. The government is really, really kicking in and ensuring that all kinds of give me a moment, guys. I'm just checking to see if I'm still going live on Facebook. So give me just a moment. My team seems to indicate that I'm not going live, but it does say I'm going live on my Facebook page here. Yeah, I can see that I'm also getting some comments. So yeah, I think that's all fine now. Okay, so the government is working very hard, and I think the government of New Zealand is also being praised quite a lot by various people across the world. There was an interesting article from the Washington Post, and even CNN went on to say that the government of New Zealand is sort of setting a benchmark for the way that a public health crisis like the COVID-19 needs to be addressed, and that's what is happening. So, all said and done, yes, despite the unfortunate 5 deaths, by and large, New Zealand, I think, is working very hard on controlling this pandemic. And I think more than anybody else, I think New Zealand, as a country, I think will jump out of this sooner than other countries. And there was also a report which said that New Zealand is the third safest country to be in this particular time of a global health crisis. Apparently, the other countries are Israel and Singapore, and New Zealand is being, rated very, very highly for the efforts that are going into addressing this particular issue, and going ahead. As a citizen living here in New Zealand, as somebody who lives here in New Zealand with my family, I'm very relieved, to be honest, that this country and this government and the leaders and the people have come together as one to address this particular issue. And I think everybody is cooperating. And as I keep saying, if anybody is going to lift all these restrictions at the earliest and keep going into some sort of a normalcy, I believe it is going to be New Zealand as compared to a lot of other countries. So, and I would also like to go back to some of my team members, and they raised a few concerns which they wanted me to address. And so one was from my colleague Neha Segal, who helps our licensed immigration advisors to work with those who are applying for their spouse work visas or visitor visas. And she is urging everybody to start the process and continue the process of applying for your spouse, a visitor, or work visa. Because for us at AJB, it is business as usual. We are all very well trained in working from home and working through an online medium, and me coming live is also part of the same effort that we put in to make sure there is no disruption in our informational services to all of you. So Neha urges all of you to go ahead and apply, because for us at HJV, it is business as usual. And she is also urging all of you to go ahead and apply with or without your police clearance certificates and medicals, because Immigration New Zealand is also making a few adjustments to the way they work, and they are taking on board some of these applications. And I guess at the right time, they will ask for those extra documents to be submitted. Um, Another concern raised by one of my colleagues called Navya, who, as you all know, is also a licensed advisor, just like myself, and she comes live on sometime later this week. She says that some people are also concerned with the decisions the Australian government is taking regarding the closure of borders, since the two countries are often looked as through the same lens. It would be good for us to, talk to you about the difference in the coronavirus cases, which is like is that New Zealand has got only 1/6 of the cases that Australia has at the moment, and I think the way we are fighting it is also has been so much more dramatically effective as compared to many other countries. So I think it is very important for those of you who are considering to come to New Zealand, not to wander, not to kind of look at us with the same lens as you would look at Australia. Yes, a lot of people tend to think that down under means both those countries at the same time. But hey, look, we're two separate sovereign nations, and we have our individual ways of dealing with this. And we are not Australia. And like I said, our number of cases is actually coming down, and I think our government is doing a fantastic effort of controlling this. So do not, put us in the same bucket as Australia. They are dealing with it in their own way, but I think New Zealand is dealing with it in a much more, I think, proactive sense. And you can see the numbers. They're actually beginning to come down, and we have not been, our hospitals have not been overwhelmed. Nor have our emergency services been overwhelmed. So yeah, don't put New Zealand and Australia together. And what else? My team also has asked me to talk about the July intake, because a lot of students are apparently asking our team whether this particular intake is getting deferred, and whether how all the processes will be affected towards your admission and visas, because of the lockdown and not being able to go and write your IELTS or PTE exams and not being able to approach banks to get your loans, or some of the other things like police clearance certificate and medicals. My advice to you on that is behave and act like July is going to happen, because we are still in the middle of April here in globally. So we have the whole of May, so we have half of April, we have the whole of May, and we have the whole of June, and we will also have half of July before the intake kicks in, because most courses start only from the middle to the end of July. So when we kind of count forward, if we take half of April, half of July, and May and June, that's 3 whole months. And at the rate New Zealand government is kind of attacking this particular pandemic and controlling it, and I think they're doing a fantastic job. I do believe that July intake is a distinct possibility. Worst case scenario, it might get postponed or deferred by maybe a month or so, but we have not got any intimation yet from any of the institutions that we work with, and most of them are working from home. And I keep getting a lot of emails and intimations and information from all these institutions. None of them have told us yet that there is going to be a deferral of this intake. So my sincere request to all of you would be to work and act like it is normal. Yes, some of you are not able to apply for your IELTS or write your PTE or apply for your loans, apply for your PCC, your police clearance certificate, as well as your medicals. So do everything else that you can, because these are just 3 or 4 components. Whatever else you can, for instance, for your admission, you really don't even require the IELTS, because we can apply on your behalf with just your passport copy and your academic transcripts and certificates, and we will still be able to get you something called a conditional offer letter, which will come with a condition stating that IELTS is missing and that you will need to provide that IELTS, post which it will become an unconditional offer letter. So my sincere advice is act and behave like it is normal. And yes, there are certain things that you're not able to get into the process. You can go back and get those particular missing elements as and when things get back to normalcy. And I think the big message I want to drive is that if anybody is going to get back to normalcy quicker than most others, I think it is going to be New Zealand. I don't say it because I'm a person who promotes New Zealand. Just as a guy who's living here and experiencing the coming down of the number of cases, and just the way the whole society is behaving and going about like it is business as usual, I do believe that New Zealand will bounce back very, very quickly. Um, and there is also an update to us from the one of the institutions that we work with, that which says, and I'm going to read this out. It says, you may have many students who may have booked for an IELTS exam which is delayed due to the current lockdown. You may now encourage the students to use the language exam called Language Cert. This test can be taken by the student while at home and may just need access to a good PC with a camera, headphone, and good internet. The test can be booked and taken within a span of 5 hours, and results are announced much earlier than IELTS. So there is something called Language Cert, seems to be a good alternative to IELTS and PTE. Uh, and the same institution comes back and tells us, please note that these results are accepted by us as well as other educational providers of New Zealand, along with Immigration New Zealand. Please refer to the link below for the language cert, as well as NZQA table, which is the New Zealand Qualifications Authority that accepts various forms of English tests. Please, and this institution has asked us to share this information with our students, which is all of you, as this may lower the wait time for an IELTS once the lockdown is lifted. So I think that is great information right there about this thing called the language cert, which I'm obviously thinking is a short form for certificate. And there is a good link for language cert. In fact, there is a website called languagecert.org. I'll just spell that out. That's LANGUAGECERT.org, which is languagecert.org. And so I think that's going to really uh, help you guys who are stuck for your IELTS or your PTE exams. All right, cool. So what else? My team has also, you can see that they are equally concerned, just like all of you. And they, because I come live first in the week, they've kind of put all their concerns up there and said, "Hey, Arun, can you talk about those? Because we're getting all these queries from our students." So I think I've addressed most of them, and I think the last thing they wanted me to talk about was the fact that the Prime Minister of New Zealand, Jacinda Ardern, so she was in the latest live conference or speech, the press conference. She has talked about the fact that it could be a while before the border controls are lifted and the restrictions that have been imposed are taken away. But hey, look, like I said, she's got a job to protect New Zealand, and protecting New Zealand would ensure will mean that we've got to do things in kind of a sequence. So we obviously can't open the borders while we are still fighting a pandemic within the borders of the country. So I think that what the government is doing, and I think it's a very smart move. I would have done exactly the same thing, if I were in a position of authority and I had a choice between locking it down completely, stamping out this epidemic, and then opening the borders, maybe in a controlled fashion. Maybe they will let people in to come into the country, because as a nation, New Zealand depends a lot on people being able to cross our borders, whether it is tourists or international students or migrants or workers. So once this restriction is lifted, and I think once the government kind of stamps out this particular malaise from within the borders, I'm certain we will lift the border controls. Yes, she said it might take a while. So again, like when take a while can be anything between 4 weeks to 8 weeks to, we don't know how long it is. So even if it is 8 weeks from now, because like I said, this country has to open its borders sooner than later, because we depend a lot on the revenues that also flows across the borders along with people. So obviously, for the Prime Minister and her government, the first priority is to stamp out this disease, and then of course do a staggered opening of the borders, so that commerce and economy sort of comes back to normal. So yeah, I think it's just a normal uh, you know, uh, sort of reaction, I would think. So nothing to be alarmed about if the Prime Minister said that the borders will be closed for some more time, because, like I said, we've got to fight the fire inside first and stamp it out, and then open the borders and let people in. And I'm certain, right now, even as we speak, the different decision makers in different departments across the government are working on, creating policies and rules which will help us to open our borders, but in a controlled fashion, so that we don't let back COVID-19 into our borders. I've been speaking to a lot of people from our industry, from the immigration fraternity, and somebody said that Japan has got some kind of a system where people have a card which says that they have been tested or that they're free of COVID-19, and so I think all governments would be looking at. I heard somebody else mention that Canada might consider opening the borders, but putting everybody who comes in as an international student into quarantine for 14 days. So I'm sure New Zealand is also studying the situation and what other countries are doing, and we will come out with these solutions as well. But I think what is happening right now is a very good, strong fight against COVID-19, and the numbers are quite positive. Yes, a few more unfortunate deaths, especially from the elderly community, but I think we're doing a fantastic job of controlling this thing. And I have a feeling, it's my personal opinion. I was talking to a colleague of mine today. I think we are going to have a massive, massive surge of people wanting to come to New Zealand as soon as our borders are open, because the whole world press has been talking about how well the government of New Zealand is fighting this particular pandemic, and how safe New Zealand is as a country. And at some stage, human beings, even those who want to migrate, would be looking at their personal safety and health as much as any other aspect of or a driver. And I think because New Zealand is coming out with such a stellar performance in this fight against COVID-19, I do believe that New Zealand is going to go up very dramatically in the list of desired destinations for international students and migrants, because there is going to be a massive rush. I strongly urge all of you who are already talking to HOV and in the process to continue to do it, because there's going to be a massive pile of applications. So if you're continuing to work with us, we will ensure that your application is being looked at and ready to be launched as soon as Immigration New Zealand opens its doors. All right, guys. So that's my opening spiel for today about and an update on what's happening in terms of COVID-19. So here's our first question, and quite a few of our regulars have joined in. Sunando Basu, um, I can see O'Neill as always. Hey guys, hi Sunando, hi O'Neill, and I can see Ravi and quite a few other people have joined in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to now get on to the questions. Before I get on to the questions, as is our norm every week, we are also supposed to talk about a particular institution in New Zealand. And today, the occasion is to talk about the Western Institute of Technology at Taranaki, which is called WITT, which is WITT, short for Western Institute of Technology at Taranaki. So this particular institution, it's an Institute of Technology and Polytechnic, or ITP as it is called. And as I mentioned last week, all ITPs in New Zealand, we had about 16 of them, have now merged and come under one nice, big, broad umbrella institution, so to speak, called the New Zealand Institute of Skills and Technology. But the interesting thing, and I've been in favor of this particular move because I think bringing it all together under one umbrella makes it a lot easier for administration. But what's happened is that although NZIST has been formed, and I believe NZIST is just an interim name before they come out with a more Maori sort of a name. So NZIST still has got 15 subsidiary boards and one national council. So all the ITPs which were operating, whether it's Western Institute of Technology at Taranaki, or here in Hamilton called Waikato Institute of Technology, or Eastern Institute of Technology in Napier, so on and so forth. So while they are coming under the umbrella of NZIST, they are still having their individual subsidiary boards. And I think the whole idea of an ITP anyway was to cater to different particular regions, and which is where the Western Institute of Technology at Taranaki has served the population of the Taranaki region very well, not just for domestic students, but also for international students. As I keep talking about every ITP, it is owned and operated by the government of New Zealand, now working under the umbrella of NZIST, but it's also got its own individual board, which is like one of the more recent occurrences for all ITPs in New Zealand. It's as recent as the 1st of April. When you're coming to study at the Western Institute of Technology at Taranaki, you have many choices. You can choose from administration, adult teaching and training, arts and design, business and management, energy, oil and gas, English language, fitness and sport, foundation studies, hair and beauty, and there is hospitality, there is information technology, there's Maori language and culture for anybody interested in that. There's mental health and well-being. There's nursing and healthcare. There is primary industries. There is second, and there are also trades. Trades would include things like welding, plumbing, trades which are useful for general business and trade. So they're called trades as well. So the Western Institute of Technology, Taranaki, has got a whole host of them. It's got courses starting all the way at the master's level and going down to the diplomas and certificates as well. Although for international students, by and large, you would be looking at a level 7 and above, which is your bachelor's, graduate diplomas, or a postgraduate diploma and master's, which is 8 and 9. So that is what WIT. So the one thing when I talk about WIT, and I've been to this campus a few times, so I'm going to give you my very personal input about WIT. Fantastic campus. It is in a city called New Plymouth, which is on the western coast of the North Island of New Zealand. And it's got this beautiful, mountain called Mount Taranaki, which is always in the background of this city. There's a beautiful, it's on the beach, so the city is very beautiful. And yeah, it's a bustling town. And I remember from my memory that a lot of our students who went to WIT chose to go for culinary, hospitality, and those sorts of courses, and have done really, really well. And one of the other interesting offshoots or schools of Western Institute of Technology, Taranaki, is the New Zealand Institute of Highway Technology. Now, the NZIHT is an integral part of WIT, and the NZIHT campus is located in Hamilton, where I'm sitting and talking to you right now. In fact, it is like right next to the AJV office here in Hamilton. And this particular institution, I think, is a masterstroke from WIT, because this particular institution focuses only on highway technology, and they have some fantastic courses there. And as a country, New Zealand has been working towards creating better infrastructure for our country, for our nation, and highways, of course, would be one of the key elements of any infrastructure development. And so this particular course is focused only on highway technology, and a lot of our students have been going to the New Zealand Institute of Highway Technology. I had the opportunity of inviting the head of this particular, course to come and have a one-on-one chat with myself and some of my colleagues at the office here in Hamilton. And some of our students who are already studying here have also given fantastic feedback about this course. And I personally live opposite a new highway that is being constructed. This is the highway that connects the southern part of New Zealand with the northern part of New Zealand. So if somebody's traveling from Auckland and they want to go down south to places like Rotorua, Taupo, or many of the Wellington, they don't have to enter Hamilton City, and they can bypass and travel on this new highway. And it's right outside my window, by the way, where I sit and work. I see the work on it every day. Of course, now with the lockdown, there isn't a lot of work happening. So the course from NZIHT is really, really outstanding from WIT. So also their hospitality and their culinary courses have also been quite outstanding for our students, and strongly encourage you. We have a great rapport with the managers at WIT. My dear friend Carol, who has been heading international at WIT for many, many years, is there. She's a fantastic person who goes all out to help international students. She and a team, I mean, not her just individually, but so overall, they also have a great culture of looking after their students, whether it is domestic or international. The outcomes for our students have been fantastic. A lot of our students who have been to WIT are still in touch with me, and these are people who came to WIT many, many years ago. So yeah, I think overall the outcomes have been good. The college is great, owned and operated by the government of New Zealand. So you have that stability and the guarantee that this institution will deliver for you. And like I said, the outcomes from the students and their success rate has been very high. So big thumbs up to WIT and to all its courses, especially NZIHT. If you are considering coming to New Zealand and looking for a good institution, WIT is a good choice for you, provided the course you're looking for is there. And talk to us at AJB, and we will ensure we put all the details in front of you, and we will take it forward from there. All right, thank you. So those are my two introductions for today, to give you an update on COVID-19, the situation in New Zealand, and then also talk about WIT. All right, now for a sip of water, and then I'll get on with the questions. Okay, moving on. I can now close these windows. Right, let me see what my team has said. Okay, so here's the first question from big hello to everybody who's joined in. Arya Datta says, hello, sir. If we apply without PCC and medicals now, when will we be asked to submit them later by INZ? Also, will applying without these would eventually delay our process? Okay, so here's the feedback anyway, I mean, Arya. So number one, it won't delay the process. In fact, on the contrary, lodging the application now will make sure that the application goes into the INZ queue and will be picked up sooner than those who apply later. Then yeah, so yeah, and of course they will ask you to submit the PCC and the medicals, Arya, as soon as they are coming to some sort of normalcy. I mean, a lot of organizations were not equipped prior to COVID-19 to working from home or working remotely. We at AJ, we were probably one of the pioneers of this whole system of working from home. And we've absolutely perfected this art of working from home. So my understanding is INZ is still struggling a little bit. Excuse me. Also, you got to bear in mind that they deal with a lot of sensitive information like personal details of individual applicants like yourself. So that is probably another reason they're taking some time before they start rolling out the work from home. So at the moment there is a temporary hold on processing of applications, but I told you just a little before Argia, they will open soon. They will start figuring out a way of working from home or some other way. And when that happens, your application should not get stuck in that big backlog of applications. So it is a good idea to go ahead and apply, even if it is without the PCC and the medicals at this stage. At least your kind of the your place in the queue is sort of taken care of. And of course, as soon as they start processing, the visa officer, whoever gets allocated to your case, will come back and ask you to submit those documents. And the PCC takes a few days, and medicals also doesn't take more than a couple of days really. So yeah, as soon as and they'll give you enough time, of course, to be able to submit this. All right. So I would say go ahead, don't wait, just go ahead and submit them, Argia. Yeah. Right. Next question. Sunando says, hello. Hi, Sunando. Yes, we had a fantastic Easter. Thank you. It was a little weird to attend the church service online, but yeah, we did have a good one. Nabin says, hello from Nepal. Hi, Nabin. I hope you're doing well. Uh, okay. And somebody says right now Sri Lanka is the safest. Fantastic. So if somebody is looking for international education or migration to Sri Lanka, please take Ravi's view on that. Um, Vishal Trivedi says, "Hi, I'm an AJVN. What intakes will postpone from June, July to August, September?" Like it just stated, Vishal, we still have no intimation either from the institutions or from immigration that they're getting postponed. So fingers crossed, but hopefully it won't be postponed by at all. Or even if it does, hopefully it will not be for too long. Mauri uh, Solanki says, I am MBA in HR with 1.5 years of experience. I have 6 band in IELTS. What will be the HR job opportunities at NZ? Please guide me in that. Hey, Morvi, the thing is, I keep saying this in practically each and every session of mine that we uh, are unable to process requests for direct work in New Zealand because the problem with working in New Zealand directly is that most employers do not take a positive view of somebody who is not present in the country and who don't have a valid work visa, and which is why as an organization we sort of promote the study and work and settle pathway, because once you're present in the country, let's say you come and do it because you already have a good background, and you already have an MBA with HR, and you also have some experience, and you also return your IELTS. So if you're able to come to New Zealand and do a course here in this country related to your background, then you will get a 1, 2, or 3 years post-study work visa, depending on what level of course you study here. And when you get that post-study work visa and you're present in the country, is when you will have a much, much better shot at picking up a job in New Zealand. And of course, people will say, oh, but I already have an MBA, and why would I invest some more money into education once again? I mean, it is simple. The investment is to make sure that you are able to find a future for yourself in New Zealand. Without that step of studying and getting a post-study work visa, you may not be able to get a job here at all. So you got to plan it forward and see how we can take it one step at a time. And there are thousands of people doing it every year, and even those with already double masters and even PhD, even they are planning to still come into New Zealand and do a course to be able to become a stepping stone for a further and a future work visa. based on which, of course, they approach employers and seek employment, and then some of them would also be looking at getting residency in New Zealand. So that's what I would recommend to you. Thanks for sharing your number. One of our team members will get in touch with you. Have a chat, no obligations. Discuss all your options with them. And at the end of it, if you feel okay, that's a legitimate pathway for me to get into New Zealand and get an extra qualification and also a work visa, and then work towards a job. Great. If you say, hey, look, that's not my cup of tea, so be it. Okay. But at least do engage with our team and get some good information. Okay. Cool. Okay, Adil Ahmed says, is any impact on job market in New Zealand? Of course, Adil, I think like any other country in the world, it's not an easy moment for us here in New Zealand as well. I think it's still early days, though. Nobody is still able to gauge what exactly is the impact of COVID-19 on New Zealand. But yes, certainly there will be some impact on the job market, but we'll have to wait and see which particular segments get hit. Right now, hospitality, I think, is suffering really, really badly because without cafes and restaurants being open, people will not go and eat or dine there. So so that's the reason. So we'll wait and watch, but yeah, definitely there's going to be an impact here. Right. So somebody called Lovely Person has asked me a question, but has not shared the number. Hey, Lovely Person, can you be lovelier and share your contact number? Because what we do is I answer questions or well, my colleagues who come live on these platforms. The way we work is that if you are an AGV student, please identify yourself, and we are more than happy to give our information to you and an answer to your particular query. But if you're not an AGV student or client, then hey, look, we would request you please share your number so that we will have the opportunity of speaking to you after I give my answer and continuing the discussion. So, lovely person, please be lovely and share your number, and I will answer your question. Plus, one of my team members also will be in touch with you and continue the discussion. Okay. Shavik Manager says, hello, Arun. Good to see you. Hope you're doing fine and safe. Do you want see the lockdown in New Zealand getting extended beyond 23rd? I wouldn't know, Shavik. I think we are now into our third week. We just started our third week, and not sure. At this stage, it looks like we are doing a good job of controlling it. But if it gets out of hand and if there is a spurt in cases again. So I think it's a wait and watch game that's happening. So at this stage, I wouldn't know, nor would I like to comment because it's obviously something I can't be predicting about. I think I would rather wait and listen to the official statements from the government and share those official statements with all of you. Cool. There is a question from Nabin Kishore, no number, so I'll have to move forward. Muzi Patan asks a question, no number, so I'll have to keep moving forward. Kritika asks a question, no number, so I'm just keeping on moving. Wajid, finally there is a question and there is a number there. Okay, yeah. So Amal Raj Nanda has shared his question, and there is a number looks incredibly long, which I'm thinking is also the country code at the beginning, and then the rest of the number. So his Amal's question is, what all are the advantages if I choose New Zealand over Ireland for my further studies, as I am finance background and completed BCom? Okay, good question. Now, Amal, I think New Zealand and Ireland are quite similar in the way they are structured as countries, in the composition of the population. I think they're almost around the same in terms of population as well as the fact I think New Zealand and Ireland are the only two countries in this world which don't have snakes in their countries. So that could be an interesting commonality as well between New Zealand and Ireland. So what are the advantages? Okay, let me see. I haven't been to Ireland, so I will not be able to comment too much about Ireland. But the advantages of coming to New Zealand, Amal, definitely weather. I don't think it will be as wet and cold as Ireland would be. We have a much more temperate weather here in New Zealand. And we have a very thriving export economy here in New Zealand. While I think Ireland is more closely linked to UK and and the European Union sort of thing. For us, it is almost a matter of our survival for us to be able to export our goods and services to different parts of the world. So we have a very thriving and very strong export economy here in New Zealand, and by virtue of which, there is always a big requirement for people to be able to join all these businesses, and finances, of course, are a very integral part of any business entity. So yeah, I mean, like I said, we are the finance again is such a important aspect of most business entities. But again, this will be true of any place, not just New Zealand. It'll be the same in Ireland as well. So I can't see of many distinct categories of advantages over Ireland, Amal, except that I think the composition of our society is a little different. There is a much higher acceptance of outsiders in New Zealand. The weather is much better. We've always had this very bicultural platform of the European and the Maori background that built New Zealand, because of which there has always been a higher acceptance of other races. So I believe, and then I think the whole mentality of the country is very different, very innovative, very up there, because we have to compete with the big boys of the world. So I think because of all this, I think New Zealand is probably more innovative, probably friendlier, and probably definitely more accommodating weather-wise. So this could be some of the potential advantages. But we will talk to you more and see if we can come out with better suggestions than what I just meant. All right. Cool. All right. I have a now. There is another query here. I'm going to quickly pause for a moment and check if my team has given me any inputs. Okay. Question from Nikhil, who's shared this number. Thank you, Nikhil. Appreciate that. Hi, I'm Nikhil from India. When can we bring our parents to live here with us permanently? And what are the options before we ourselves get a PR? Any general good things to know number? Okay, so the parent category at the moment is under review, Nikhil. So the chances of bringing your parents and keeping them permanently here, you'll have to wait and watch how that policy gets uh, worked out going forward. And as regards whether you can bring them here before you yourself get your residency, and wanting them also to live here permanently is a bit of a pipe dream, because um, I mean, unless until you yourself have permanent residency, it will be almost impossible to get your parents here and have them live here permanently with you. My recommendation is to do it step by step. I'd say you establish yourself first, and hopefully by the time the parent category will also get resolved, and then you may be able to help your parents also to move to New Zealand. But bear in mind, they'll have to go through the normal process of medicals and everything else. So yeah, I'd say stay in touch with us, and we will keep you advised about that. Right, question from Vijay Lalit, but there is no number, so I'm going to move on from there. There is a question from Danish 31, and he says, share this number. Thank you, Danish. He says, hi, sir, this is me, Danish. I have emailed to my offer letter just 1 month before. Still now, I'm waiting for your reply. Okay. I'm not sure, Danish, if you emailed me, or I don't know who else you emailed in my organization. I must confess that I am not directly in connect with a lot of our students and clients, because we have this wonderful team of people in AJB. We're almost 40 people spread across New Zealand and India, and then we have one person called Noella who works out of the Middle East. So, and then we have Shireen who works out of Malaysia. So depending on where you're located, Dennis, your email can get routed to one of these people. I'll ask my team to get in touch with you, because you've shared your number, and we will try and dig out that email, and we will see what is the information you seek, and we will give that information to you. All right, cool. Okay. Next question is from Kevin Lawrence, who says he's an AJVian. Hi, Kevin. Always a pleasure to say hello to our AJVians. And Kevin says, I have applied for the postgraduate diploma in engineering at AUT for July intake. Will I be able to make it this July due to Corona, or are they going to postpone the start date? Okay, Kevin, like I said, I will not be able to predict, but we have not received any intimation from any institution so far that they are postponing their intakes. I haven't received it from a single institution, and we have about 35, 40 institutions on our portfolio, but not a single one of them has sent us concrete communications saying that there is a deferment of the intake. So I'd say continue with the process like there is no deferment at this stage. And if at all it does come to that, my personal guess would be I don't think it would be for more than a month or so, because like I said, international students are very valuable to us, and for our economy. And I think the government will put some measures in place for us to be able to bring all you fantastic people, especially those going for postgraduate courses in some of our fantastic institutions like AUT. I think the government will work very hard and put some, still relatively new, this whole corona thing. So but at this stage, there is absolutely no information that they're deferring any of the intake. So I would say, Kevin, hang in there. And if there is a deferral at all, we will convey it to you. But like I said, even if there's a deferral, I'm sure they'll work very hard to make that as minimal as possible, because we need you international students as much as you want to come to New Zealand. We in New Zealand require you guys and girls also to come, so that you can prop up our international education and our economy, because your international students not only bring in some very important revenue for us, but you also bring in very important skills for us. And there is going to be a always going to be a shortage of workers. So even while you're studying, a lot of you will be going to work and earn taxes and pay it into the economy. So I think because of that, you guys will be very valuable for us. So yeah, I think the deferment, no news yet, but if it is going to be, I don't think it will be for very long. Udari asked me a question, no a number, so I'll have to move on from there. Abhishek G says, hi, sir. I submitted my partnership visa last month, so whether it'll process in Hamilton or Mumbai. And Abhishek says he's an AJVian, so always a pleasure to answer questions from our AJVians. Abhishek, at the moment, both Hamilton and Mumbai both are sort of not working at this stage. There is a bit of a skeletal staff of INZ that is working out of Wellington. That's the news I have. And we've been getting some communications from INZ, but both Hamilton and Mumbai, because of the lockdowns in the respective countries, are not working. Will your application go to to Hamilton or to Mumbai? We don't know at this stage. By and large, they will go to Mumbai, but if Hamilton opens faster, maybe they will send it across to Hamilton, because INZ would also want to clear off the backlog of applications. But at this point, honestly, no information. At this point, more than likely, it is just sitting in the system and waiting for one or both or all the offices to open so that they can start routing. All I know is that INZ has got a way of routing applications. When one particular center gets overloaded, they route it to some other office, so that they can continue to process applications. So just hang in there, Abhishek, and hopefully we'll have some clarity on that soon. Prashant Chauhan says he is an AJB client. Hey, Prashant, good to hear from our other AJB clients. And says, hi, Arun, I'm AJB client, and says COVID-19 effect on student partner work visa, because we lodge visa file on 10th March. Thank you, Arun. Prashant, I just answered that question. Like you said, practically all INZ offices are closed down worldwide, except for small skeletal staff working in Wellington, but they are dealing only with high priority cases. So at this stage, I think it is all just sort of hanging in there. So I'd say just hang in there, Prashant, and hopefully there should be an outcome soon. Yeah. Right. So lovely person has come back and shared his number, and it looks like his or her number. And it looks like lovely person is in New Zealand because it's an 027 number and says, I would like to enroll at part-time MBA at the University of Auckland, currently holding an essential skilled work visa and living in Auckland. I already had a discussion with Mary as she advised I'm not eligible to study part-time based on my visa conditions. However, I can apply varying my visa conditions to study in a part-time. In this case, will you guys help me on the part-time application? Hey, look, we can do it, but Mary is my senior colleague, and she's also a licensed immigration advisor like myself, and she is the boss lady here in New Zealand, and she's got a pretty big team of people who report to her. So by and large, if you're on an essential skills work visa, the conditions do not permit you to undertake courses of a particular nature. But then, you seem to be keen, so we will look into it and see what we can do for you. But hey, look, right now everything is on hold. So let's wait for things to normalize a little bit. And potentially there could be a possibility that there could be a variation of conditions which might allow you to be able to work. But like I said, I'm not stating it as a fact right now. But like I said, potentially there could be, because immigration law does always provide a few exceptions here and there. So we will look into it. Since you've already been in touch with Mary, suggest you continue to be in touch with her. And if there is any possibility whatsoever, we will certainly help you. All right. Thanks, lovely person. Okay. So Patan Mastan says, I would like to request AJV team to meet the AJV students at Wellington after lockdown lifts up, or after a couple of months. Hey, Patan, absolutely, Matt. We would have loved to come and meet you already. In fact, just before this whole lockdown occurred, we were planning our series of meetings with all our AGV students, and Wellington was definitely on the cards. Christchurch, Auckland was definitely on the cards. Hamilton was definitely on the cards. So yeah, I mean, we feel pretty bad about it ourselves that we couldn't go ahead with our meeting our students. We love these meetings, by the way, because it gives us an opportunity to finally meet you in person after all the interactions you've had with us. So yeah, promise, definitely, definitely. As soon as this whole thing is lifted, we will definitely come and uh, meet you guys and girls. Because at the end of the day, we exist because of all of you, so we would love to come and spend some time with you. Yeah. So there is a question from Ketan Munasu. He says, one question, I'm already in New Zealand, just want to know whether Massey in Albany, Auckland, or Palmerston North, which one is better in terms for Masters of Engineering Studies. I already have enrolled and just need advice for campus selection. I'm giving a second opinion to this thought. I'm already a student for VOC at AJB, and he has shared his number. Ketan, because you are going to do a master's, whether you go to Palmerston North campus or you go to Auckland campus, you would still end up with a 3 years post-study work visa. So in that sense, there isn't a lot of uh, difference. Also, I would think that the number of engineering projects and opportunities in Auckland would be higher as compared to Palmerston North. So these are the positives in favor of Auckland. Negatives, of course, is that the cost of living will be much higher than in Palmerston North. And so, you're commuting and all that while you're studying could be more costlier than if you were living in Palmerston North. So yeah, if you weigh up all these things, at the end of the day, if you have a good enough part-time job in Auckland, I'd say stay back in Auckland and continue your masters from the Albany campus. But if you don't have any fixed work in Auckland right now, like in part-time work, then choose to go to Palmerston North, because the advantage of going to Palmerston North and eventually finding a job there is that you might end up with more points towards your residency. So both places have their pros and cons. You should be able to take that final call. But I would say if you already have a job in Auckland and you kind of foresee continuing in that particular job, I'd say stick to Auckland. But otherwise, go to Palmerston North. It's a beautiful little town. You can establish yourself, and like the old saying goes, you can be a big fish in a small pond or a small fish in a big pond. So Auckland is a big pond and Palmerston North is a smaller pond. Who knows? You might just go on to become a big fish there. So that'll be my suggestion to you. Yeah. Question from Kumar saying, but no numbers. So I'm just going ahead with that. Abhinash Subedi asked a question, but that's a very immigration sort of question. It says, I'm on annual leave outside New Zealand and my visa about to expire. Would I get extension? Don't know, my friend, if you still have a job. So you might want to check with your uh, employer to see if you still have a job. And if you still have a job when immigration opens, of course you will be able to apply for an extension. But I think for you it is important first to check to see if you still have a job, because things have changed quite dramatically in the last few weeks. So I'd say check with your employer first. Udari Apeksha says, what is the benefit of doing PhD? Is it worthwhile than master's? What is the best institute for culinary arts? Is there a good opportunity to get PR for chefs? And what are the other requirements to get a PR by a chef? Okay, so a lot of questions, Udari, pushed into one question. So advantages of doing a PhD in New Zealand, quite a few. If you go to my channel called Arun Jacob, or if you go to our AJV Global channel on YouTube and search for advantages of doing a PhD in New Zealand, there is actually a very detailed video that I have made and put up there. And it talks about all the advantages that you have of doing a PhD in New Zealand. So quite a few, for just pay domestic fees, for instance, and you will get full work rights, and your spouse would get work rights, your kids will get domestic fees, and so on and so forth if you're married. So that's one thing. Will it be easier to do a master's than a PhD? Yeah, definitely in terms of time. Your master's you can complete in 1 year, whereas a PhD can roll on for 2, 3, 4 years, depends on how long you're going to take for your supervisor. So in certain instances, it actually makes sense to do a master's and quickly get your 3 years post-study work visa, and then move into a job, because of which you will be able to apply for a residence, whether you do your master's or your PhD. Only upon completion of that, you'll be able to get into a relevant job and then look for applying for your residency or your PR. As regards culinary arts, quite a few institutions. We don't know at what level you're looking for, because a PhD at culinary arts, I think, potentially is possible, but might be a little bit more difficult. But like I said, you've shared your number. We will get in touch with you and have a chat with you. But there are quite a few good institutions. AUT could be one. There are quite a few institutions all around New Zealand which offer good courses in culinary arts. But if you're specifically looking for something at the PhD level, then I think we will need to spend some time with you and then suggest you. Thanks for sharing your number. We will get in touch with you and then we'll take it forward from there. Yeah. Prashant comes back and says, I'm AJB. I'm going to quickly go back to check if any of my team has provided any information to me. Showing there is a bit of a feedback about you, saying that your application is almost complete from our team side, and waiting for a few documents from your end so that we can launch the application. Showing. So if you're still watching it, showing, that is the feedback I got from team AJV. Prashant goes on and asks, it's impossible to know uh, time frame, but as per your experience, can you please tell me a time INZ took for decision and student partner work visa? I'm a little bit scared because in November my wife is finishing her study too. So Prashant, we know how long it takes to for INZ normally to process spouse work visa, and it normally takes between 4 to 8 weeks time. That's the normal time frame. But in this present circumstances, when none of their offices are open, it will be difficult for us to give a time frame. So I can only tell you that as and when they start their offices again, and as and when their offices are back to working again, it will take 4 to 8 weeks. That's about how long, by and large, most of our spouse work visas have taken. So I understand, everybody is going through a bit of uncertainty. I'm going through a bit of uncertainty whether, when the borders will open, or if the intakes will get deferred or not, because our entire business depends on, borders being open and people being able to travel across borders. So, but the problem is, this is much larger than us individuals. It is, obviously something much more than individuals or small, organizations. It is something that's happening at the global level. So all I can tell you, Prashant, is hang in there. But the moment they started processing, it will take between 4 to 8 weeks time. All right. Yeah, cool. Right. So Joy Royston has said, "Hello, Arun. Hope you're fine. I'm not a JV student, but want to be one among them." Fantastic. That's the kind of people we like, Joy. I wanted to know about Auckland Institute of Studies and scope for finance course. I have experience in accounting. My number is, and Joy has shared his number. Hey, look, Joy, thank you so much. I appreciate you being candid and saying that you would like to be an, AJV student and also join AIS. If you go to my um, YouTube channel, Arun Jacob. Go to YouTube and search for Arun Jacob, and yours truly will come up there. I actually have a full video about AIS, Auckland Institute of Studies, St. Helens. Fantastic institution, and it's one of the private colleges in New Zealand that I'm particularly fond of, and I think they do a fantastic job with their students. Some of us, and a lot of AGV students have been to AIS, and they've come out with flying colors. A lot of them have settled well into their employment and got their residence and permanent residence and even citizenship. So quite a lot of people. So good choice. I have very high regard for AIS St. Helens, and I think their business school is also very good. They have business school, they have a tourism school, they have a hospitality school, plus they have an IT school. So I think their business school is also right up there. Thanks for sharing your number. I can see that you're based somewhere in the Middle East, so we will get in touch with you. I'll ask my colleague Shireen, who looks after all inquiries from the Middle East. So she will get in touch with you. Your number will be conveyed to her. So please look out for a contact from Shireen Joy, and we would absolutely be delighted to work with you. And not only work with you while you're still in your country, but even after you come to New Zealand, we would be absolutely be keen to support you and your path throughout New Zealand. All right. So yeah, that's something we are looking forward to. And thank you for reaching out, Joy. Much appreciated. Right. So James asks, how could one become an AJV client? Thanks. Nothing. James, you've already shared your number, so we'll get in touch with you. But for those of you who don't know how to get in touch with us, that's the way you can get in touch with us. Those are our contact details. And by and large, we advise people in India to contact that number, or that email address. And those who are outside India, we ask you to get in touch with that particular contact details, like the number or the email address, and we will get in touch with you. But James, yeah, thanks for wanting to be an AJV client. We will work our best to make you an AJV client. All right. Okay, I seem to have reached the end of my time, and my team normally tells me, but they haven't. So I'm gonna ring the bell myself and tell you that I'm almost towards the end of my session. So I'm going to quickly run through to see if I've missed any important queries. Team, you can also tell me if there is anything important I should have covered, but I have not covered. So I'm going to quickly run through this. Uh, right, so they're ready. Please get in touch with us and we will help you with your query. There is a question from somebody called 70 Triple C. Please get in touch with us. Brown boy tick. uh, yeah. My brown boy is back again. One of our AJV clients. Good to say hello to you again, brown boy. Kiara, glad to see you safe and well, doing great in the lockdown. Quick question: when approximately do we expect INZ to resume their normal visa categories. Again, it's crisis again. I'd say about couple of months, so give them at least a couple of months to get their activity place. Kia kaha to you as well, which is stay strong. Mohammed Munir has shared his number. Um, and says he's a barrister and solicitor of the High Court of New Zealand and admitted to the Auckland Registry in 2015. I'm practicing in Bangladesh. Now I would like to migrate. Please discuss my issue. Yeah, absolutely, Mohammed Munir. We would be happy to. You've shared your number, so we will get in touch with you. Sharon will get in touch with you and give you a call, and we'll get more information and see how we can help you. Uh, Thomas Larson says, hello, Team AJB. I'm planning to study Master of Accounting and need to know which best three options it is to get accountancy jobs in New Zealand. Hey, Thomas, we'd be absolutely delighted to help you. But I'd say, by and large, if you're looking at accountancy, I'd say Auckland, Hamilton, Wellington, or Christchurch. But who knows? You might end up getting a accountant's job in a small city like Timaru. So yeah. So please share your number, and we would like to get in touch with you and give you more information. What else? Okay, I'm just going through. Ketan says he's already in Pami. Fantastic, Ketan. Stick. If you're already in Pami, stick to Pami. You will do well there because you're already familiar with the place. Okay, Liju Francis says, hi, I'm an AGVN. I have arrived in New Zealand this February. Had come to Victoria Street, passed by AGV office a couple of times late in the evening, so it was closed. We'll see you soon. Thank you so much, AGV team, Ruben, Madhvi, Grace, for processing my application smoothly. Thank you so much, Liju. Appreciate your feedback. I'm sorry we could not meet you because of the lockdown, but as soon as it's up, I promise a nice big party in Auckland, Christchurch, Wellington, and Hamilton for all AGV clients. Okay, there's a question from Sunita, but I'm running out of time. So, Sunita, we will definitely get in touch with you. We would love to work with you because you're looking at doing a master's in engineering and science. You are the kind of people we want in New Zealand, so we will definitely get in touch with you. Jitu has asked me a question, no number. Jitu, please share your number. Charles has shared his number and says, I'm not an AJV student, but would like to study a PhD. I've already spoken about PhD, Charles. We will get in touch with you and give you more information. Uh, Yuvraj says, Arun, please follow up my emails. I have not received any reply from your concerned staff. Certainly, Yuvraj, I will look into it soon after the session. And Sahil says, I want to do MBA in New Zealand. I will complete my college in 2022. I will get admission MBA without any work experience. There are some who give admissions without work experience, Sahil, and I absolutely love your way of looking forward. You're looking at 2022. By that time, COVID-19 will be a dream of the past or just a distant bad memory. So, sure. Thanks for sharing your number, Sahil. We will be in touch with you and give you some information and prep you for 22 and 2022. And last one from Rizwan Basra says, I'm here in New Zealand. What do you think the future will be for international worker here in New Zealand? After COVID, it's going to be a little difficult. Let me not try to gloss it over, and say everything is going to be hunky dory. I think New Zealand, like many other countries, is going to fight to get out of the slump that was caused by COVID. But because we're fighting COVID-19 so well, I do believe we will also bounce back faster than a lot of other countries. And on that very positive note, I would say request one more time all the you people, wonderful people who are working with HAV or following HAV, continue to keep your plans afloat. New Zealand is fighting this really well. And if there is one country that's going to jump out of this faster than others and also going to become more popular, I believe it's going to be New Zealand. So keep your plans afloat and continue to speak to HAV, and we will ensure that we get you back on track as soon as INC and the rest of the people are up and running as well. Thank you, as always, for following my live sessions. This is going to become a video and sit on Facebook and my YouTube channel. Today, I forgot to switch on AJV Global YouTube channel, but I'll download it from my channel and we will upload it there. And I look forward to seeing you again next week. Some of my colleagues will come live further in this week. Please follow them. And we are probably the only people who are giving such constant and frequent updates live from the ground, on the ground, from New Zealand about education and migration to this beautiful country. So stay strong, stay safe, and continue to stay in touch with HAV. and we will make all your Kiwi dreams come true. Good night. Bye bye.